Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday, October 2nd, 2025. Welcome to the Daily BLP. I am your host, Brian Collins. Thanks so much for joining us here for the live stream. Yeah, I it's I just a whirlwind of a day. I just got back. I think I mentioned in the show yesterday, I would be traveling a little bit today down the road to do a presentation to a prospective new client for our Panatech IT Managed Services brand. Always fun. The build up to those things, always a heavy lift for a couple of us here, just getting things ready. Usually what we like to do for closer folks is roll the red carpet out here and bring them here, but this is about an hour plus away. And sometimes that's a little bit of an ask to get those folks to come down the road when they're in the middle of their busy day. So it was fun, presented, great presentation. We're going to know really soon whether or not we've got a yay or a nay. I've got a really good feeling it's going to be a yay. I think I connected really well. I think we're a really good fit for them. They've just been in the dredges these last couple of years with their current provider, unfortunately, who I think has a relatively good reputation. I'm not sure why they're dropping the ball in this case, but hopefully they decide to let us pick it up and move the ball forward for them. So really excited about that. So I'm still, even though it was about an hour and a half ago, I'm still, really amped up. I got a lot of energy in me like I always do after presenting for new deals. So anyway, sorry, I keep messing with my mic. I think I got a bad XLR cable I got to fix. Anyway, yesterday spoke pretty much the whole show about the government shutdown. I wanted to follow up on that a little bit. If you want to get the nonsense that I shared yesterday in episode 67, check that out after this show to get a little bit of context. But in general, what I said is, hey, it's happening. What does that mean for us small business people? What does that mean a little bit for the folks working in those government agencies? And I just want to make sure and clarify, hopefully I didn't come across too flippant. I really tried to express that, hey, I have personal concern and empathy for anybody who's not working today or yesterday and they're furloughed and, it's affecting their ability to make ends meet on a day-to-day basis. Not fun. I don't want to downplay that at all. But at the same time, what I was trying to convey yesterday is, hey, the world will move on, continue to work. Let's get after it. Let the government deal with that. Don't listen to too much spin from front, left, and right pundits telling you what you should be thinking, doing. Get after your responsibilities and get some work done, right? So, and it's interesting because I thought it would be really cool I wish we would have covered this as it was looming, but I don't, maybe I need to watch more news, which I really don't want to do. But maybe it'd be really cool because I've got a couple folks that work in the SBA that I've met over the last few months. Great folks. And it'd be cool to have them on to talk about this a little bit. Dumb me thinking, well, this is going to affect them. They work in the SBA. Their doors are closed. And it didn't click. The second I stopped the show yesterday, I was doing some stuff in the background to get things up and down, edited and uploaded and all that fun stuff. And I'm like, I'm going to email these guys real quick to see if they want to come on tomorrow or Friday. So let's continue this conversation. Shot the email out. Boom. Immediately email back. Sorry, I'm not going to see this email because we have been instructed we are not allowed to even check our email, log into our computers, anything. So they have an active directory. They can't touch anything. And I remember when I talked a little bit on the show yesterday, but when I was furloughed, but working for a nonprofit, I used to work for the Boy Scouts of America when it was still called the Boy Scouts of America. I think it's just the Scouts of America now. I'm not sure. Anyway, I got furloughed because during the 2008 financial crisis, things were tight. We were low on charitable giving that year. So we had to furlough all of our district executive staff and council staff for a couple of weeks. Can't remember the exact time, but anyway, it happened to me. And we were told you're not supposed to work. Don't go to meetings with your volunteers. Don't go to do those kind of things that you're normally doing. You got to stop. But no one said, like, don't log into your computer and check your email. we all were professionals and we're like, we're going to stay on top of things, because if we don't, it's going to be a little bit like coming back to vacations, a big stack of stuff that is waiting for us and potentially could be really bad, because all of the people that we had to deal with in the job that I had there were volunteers. They weren't paid people, you know what I mean? And they were doing it, what they were doing as volunteers for the program for their kids. And, we all were like, we're not going to just say, no, we can't talk to you because we're not getting paid. So, I'm sure, these folks who I haven't named, I haven't asked them permission to drop their names. I'm sure they are itching and clawing and hoping and wishing that they could get to the folks in the small business community that they help out every day. But they're not able to. They're literally just not able to, full stop, don't touch your stuff until the doors are open again. So dumb me, I sent them an email. Hey, you want to come on the show tomorrow? Email right back to me. Sorry, does not compute, basically. So anyway, that being said, that's where that at. So it's I guess it's considered the day 2 of the government shutdown. On that same vein, I asked my robotic resource here to get me a little bit of information about lend some historical context to this government shutdown stuff. So I asked, how many times has the government shut down in the last 25 years? And build me a table that shows some economic implications of, what that reaped. So I haven't even looked at it yet. Like I said, I got here 13 minutes before the show was supposed to start. And I'm like, well, I got to get ready and all that good stuff. So here's what it said. Let's go over this together. So it looks like in 2013, we had a government shutdown start again, October 1st of 2013. It ended October 16th. So, including the first, that's a 16-day shutdown, unless it ended at the, I don't know. So it says here, 16 full days. Furloughed employees, let's open this up a little bit, estimated at, 800,000 employees furloughed. The silence is deafening on that, right? Like, I had to sit there and think 800,000 employees. That's like a full major metro area of a city of almost 1 million people, right? Like, you got to there's probably a couple million people because kids aren't working. There's retired people aren't working. That's like all the working age people in a full giant city in the U.S. just told to go home and don't work. 800,000 employees. Just think about that in perspective. That the U.S. government, from an employee organization, is huge. That boggles the mind. Economic impact of that. Here's what it put down. It's told it to be brief, basic. We don't have all day. It's not a 2-hour show. S&P estimate approximately a $24 billion hit to GDP. Approximately 0.6 PP off Q4 annualized growth. What does PP mean? Let's just ask, what is PP? I know, well, the toddler and or middle school boy in me knows what PP is. What is PP? Someone could probably tell me if they were actually listening and smart enough. PP is percentage points. There we go. Got it. Just learned something today, everybody. So did all you. If you didn't know what PP was and you're actually watching, comment and say, Brian, we're on the same page. We both learned something. Thank you so much. Anyway. All right. So 0.6 percentage points off Q4 analyzed growth. So just over half of a percentage point loss of fourth quarter annualized growth in 2013. Now, listen, $24 billion is a lot of money, but 0.5% is not a lot. The key sources for this data was S&P via ABC News, CRFB summary. Take it for what it is. Might not be gospel, might be close. We just got to take it for what it is right now. All right. 5 years later, in 2018, to be exact, January 20th of 2018, January 20th through January 22nd. So a 2-day, actually, sorry, it's considering a 3-day, so 20, 21, 22, right? So a 3-day furlough. Total employees furloughed in 2018, 692,900. Still massive. Massive. I know we're a giant country. We got a lot of people. We got a bunch of things going on. All these departments, transportation, Department of War, all these different departments, hundreds of thousands of people. I get it. It just blows my mind. Analysts, CBO say negligible macro impact if short. This is via Wikipedia, so who knows if that's true. But obviously 3 days furlough, not even really a hiccup when it comes to economic impact there. Okay, then looks like later that year, December 22nd of 2018 through January 25th of 2019, so just over a month, 35 days to be exact, 11 billion lost GDP, approximately, and approximately 3 billion permanently lost. Wonder what does that mean? I don't know. I'm not even going to ask. It's going to take too long. You guys are going to sit there and think I'm crazy. So 3 billion permanently lost in GDP. This is via CBO in January of 19. That's not as big of a hit, but double the length of time. Maybe the time of year counts when it comes to the economic value or impact of government shutdowns. Being in the fall versus dead of winter for a lot of the country, even though half the country doesn't really even experience a winter where things kind of change that way. Just maybe not as much business is going there because everybody's still hungover from New Year's and still opening their Christmas presents and returning them. Last one is the one we're in now. Started on the 1st yesterday. We're in day 2. Day 2. Government shutdown. Boom. Maybe I can come up with a graphic. Probably not. I don't have time to do that. Maybe my guys can put a clip out. Maybe clip this section, and we'll do a daily government countdown on the show every day until it's solved. But listen, it's not. I guess it's nothing to scoff at. Over the last 25 years, there's been 4 shutdowns, including the one we're in now. We have no idea what the impact is going to be. It gave me an estimate here of the current one, anywhere from 7 to 15 billion GDP loss per week while ongoing. That seems a little aggressive based on past stats. I mean, I don't think the past $billion stats on the past ones account for money value now, money being less valuable, meaning those numbers are going to look inflated, just like our grocery prices, right? So we'll see. There's no real way to know until the dust clears and we see. And again, there's not going to be a clear view until we have the advantage of hindsight, because when it's over, days, months, weeks, out of this, we're going to need a lot of time to look back on it with true perspective, because while everybody's all fired up about it, everybody in every political seat is going to be putting their hyperbole on it, So let's just pump the brakes a little bit. And like I said before, keep kicking butt and taking names and whatever we're supposed to be doing today. Anyway, there you go. 4 shutdowns in the last 25 years, one every 6 years or so. So again, nothing new. Hopefully this doesn't last a month or anything like that. Hopefully we get through this quick, but I have no idea. everybody's having a piss and match, excuse my French, in the government right now. And, one side wants all these things and the other side wants them to kick sand. And all those government employees, the really hardworking ones, the ones who are just, riding the waves, and the ones who we don't even know if they're real people or even alive, they're all suffering because of this. So anyway, another subject I wanted to cover real quick that I just found out about today via my meeting that I just had, my presentation. After we got done, we were going over a few things, and I was showing them some additional results from our assessment that we had found that were concerning regarding some breaches that some users from their company have had over the years that they knew nothing about, because their current IT MSP wasn't checking or even letting them know if they were. I'm just guessing they weren't. Basically, this company, getting off on a little tangent, from what we could tell, has just been on cruise control with this client that hopefully decides to work with us. Cruise control since 2023. Because their digital footprint on their systems is basically nil outside of the fact that they've got a remote monitoring and management tool installed on everything. They've got some endpoint protection. But as far as keeping things cleaned up, keeping things properly going, keeping them up to date, actually doing some work to justify the relationship, nothing's been done. So anyway, after the presentation, we were chatting. I was showing him some information. We were looking at some of the data that we had pulled, because he had some questions about total storage on some of their VMs and things like that. And we had a bunch of that stuff, and he had nothing of it. He couldn't get it from his MSP. He couldn't get it from access in their quote unquote data repository that they give him access to because it was so old. I was showing him some stuff, and we just got to talking, and I had leveraged AI to help me scan a lot of that stuff, because usually it would take me a couple weeks of pouring over information, maybe an hour or two a day as I'm building up my presentation to get to know things and get the right data. But now I can throw the full spreadsheet, which is giant, by the way, into ChatGPT, have it scan and tell me, scan for this, scan for that. Do you see this? Do you see that? How many of this? How many of that? Where it would have taken me all this time and my eyes crossing to figure those things out. So I quick jumped on because he asked me a question about A, B, and C, and I'm like, well, let's see. And he's like, oh, you're using AI? I'm like, yeah. He's like, and we got to talking about it, and he's like, yeah, last night I was just watching some information about a recent congressional hearing they had about some stuff going on with AI, ChatGPT, and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, really? I didn't know that. What was going on? He goes, apparently there was this happened. So I said, like, I said, it's funny. I asked AI to look up for me, hey, what was this congressional hearing about AI where 3 young men committed suicide, apparently because AI had influenced them in that direction. And all I knew from this individual I met with was that they had been engaging with AI, and like something where over 1,000 prompts went to them, teaching them about it, how to do it, suggesting things, all this kind of stuff, like young people. Okay. So I didn't know what the exact stuff was about it. So I'm saying, hey, look this up. I want to talk about it today. So here's what I learned. Apparently the hearing was, like I said, on the 16th of September of this year. The Senate Judiciary Committee's Subcommittee on Crime and Counterterrorism. The official site examining the harm of AI chatbots. So this was via chatbots. It focused specifically on alleged harms to minors and youth from AI chatbots interaction, especially where those interactions were linked to self-harm or suicide. Scary stuff. Man, our minds are so capable of being influenced in the wrong direction so quickly, because the most powerful part of our mind we have very little control over, and the easiest part of our influence is like a trim tab. Our conscious mind, what we're taking in and seeing and stuff like that, it's like a trim tab, and it only takes a little to get us to go off. And before we know, if we're not paying attention, if we don't have good people surrounding us, good morals, in my case, faith in God, that we're going to end up in the rocks and sunk. And this is super sad. So apparently the key witnesses and testimony in this stuff was in regards to 3 families whose children either died by suicide or suffered serious harm after extended interaction with AI chatbots. You know, these are young minds interacting with non-human entities to some degree, because you can sit down and chat with ChatGPT or Grok or any of these, and you can just have, hey man, how's it going? Oh, I'm doing good. How are you? And just have an interaction that is so much easier than talking to a real person. And because you don't have to truly have compassion, you know, to have that interaction and truly care. You can just looking for answers, right? 3 different individuals. They aren't all young men. One of them, Matthew Rain. Oh, sorry. No. Let me back up. Matthew Rain is a father of 16-year-old Adam Rain, and he alleges that ChatGPT gradually became his son's emotional confidant, then began encouraging and providing methods for self-harm. Dude, that is some serious stuff. Maybe I'm getting a little bit outside of the business world, but not really, because all of us, maybe not all, you know, a huge number of people in every line of business is leveraging AI tools to do something, right? And the more we do it, and the more we get the results we're looking for, the less and less we start to check the validity of those results and just start to automatically go down the direction that we're pushed towards. This is super sad. Megan Garcia, mother of 14-year-old, I'm going to kill this name, Sewell, Sewell, Setzer III. She claims that her son interaction with character.ai involved sexualized conversations and grooming, leading to his isolation and ultimate suicide. And the last one here mentioned is just a Jane Doe, a mother whose son is now a resident in residential treatment. She told about how extended interactions with an AI chatbot, again, character.ai, altered behavior, isolation, and psychological decline. Listen, I'm not an expert. I'm just a guy talking, trying to help folks that are traveling the path that I've traveled before in business and life, and hopefully avoid some pitfalls. But this is like, I'm a dad. I've got 4 beautiful children, and this is the world they're growing up in. And none of them have access to, you know, AI or anything right now. But they know about it. They know dad uses it, you know. Scary stuff. Looks like, okay, expert witnesses, Robbie Torney, Senior Director of AI Programs, Common Sense Media, presented data about adolescents using AI chatbots, concerns regarding safety, and called for stronger industry standards. Okay, we're obviously going to be coming into more standards implemented to control these type of things. Dr. Mitch Prinstein, or Steen, from the American Psychological Association, he's the chief of psychology and strategy integration, discussed how adolescent brain development makes them especially susceptible to emotional manipulation. This is totally true. Dopamine feedback loops and it limits their capacity for critical scrutiny of AR responses. They take it as truth. They take it as the right thing to do. They just trust. And apparently, I mean, here we go. The Rains testimony claims that ChatGPT mentioned suicide in quotations many times. They allege 1,275 mentions and provided method instructions or even drafted suicide notes. Like, this is scary Super scary stuff. Yeah. How do you draw? Where do you draw the boundaries? You know, ban AI. Good luck. Cat's out of the bag, baby. How'd that go with drugs, and how's that going with drugs now? Not saying drugs are good, drugs are bad. Okay. But how's that going? Not so good. How'd that go with alcohol in prohibition times? Really bad. Put guardrails up, bowling bumpers in the lanes, all that. That's like putting a big red button in front of a kid or person, anybody, and saying, don't touch. What are they going to do? They're going to press the button. You know, it was like me when I was a kid with my older brother watching R-rated movies. Right? I'll admit it. Like, I can remember, hopefully my mom's not watching this. She's going to think I'm terrible. She'll probably laugh. I remember being young with my older brother, and I can't, there's a couple different times. I think this was when my mom and stepdad at the time, they were having my stepdad's stepfather watch us for a couple of weeks while they traveled. We were living in Texas at the time. That's where I was born and raised. We were living in Texas, and they were traveling to Michigan because that's where my stepfather had family, and they were considering moving up there. So they went up there for a couple of weeks to stake things out and look at a couple home possibilities and stuff to rent or lease. We were pretty poor, but they think they just wanted to get out of the situation in Texas economically. We just weren't doing that good, and they were going to just start over. But anyway, my brother and I, who was 5 years older than me, I at the time was just out of fifth grade. So it was the summer between fifth and sixth grade. No, this was the spring. It wasn't summer yet. It was spring. I get those things confused now because there's no snow down there because I've lived in the north so long that I kind of consider years between the white side and the melted side. And down there, it was just all melted. So it was definitely springtime. But we had the run of the world. My stepfather, Todd, at the time, his stepfather he checked in. He just said, keep the place clean. Do this list of chores. You guys can do what you want. So we were like the kings of the neighborhood for a couple of weeks. It was fun. And I can remember going, and we would go, and we used to do this when we got a little bit older after we moved to Michigan. We would go, at that time, we had to go to the gas station to rent movies. That was the closest place to rent movies. Gas stations back then had like a rental movie sections. And, there's the kid movies and the PG and PG-13. There was the R movies, the horror movies. That's what we wanted to watch, the scary movies. I remember what we ended up renting was Evil Dead 1 and Evil Dead 2. I'd never seen them before. They were super cheesy, but people love those movies. But they were rated R. My brother at the time was 15. I think I was 10. How did we do it? Well, you go there, and they just used to have the boxes with the cases behind them. The people behind the desk were always distracted. We would grab a couple of the movies and we would just swap them in the cases. And then we would bring up the case, and then the movie they want, they would scan the barcode of the movie, and then they just give you the case. They never check things. These are just, people working at the gas station. They don't give a crap. Maybe they knew and they just saw two young kids and they didn't care. I don't know. But kids under 18 not allowed to rent or watch our movies. That never stopped us, right? Back in the day, going to movie theaters, buy the ticket for one movie, going to the another movie. People doing those jobs, they don't want any beef with anybody. They just want to do their job and go home. They're not really causing any problems for people doing the wrong thing. Listen, what I'm telling you about is the wrong thing. So, Declan, if you're watching this sometime, wrong thing. Rest of you girls, don't do this stuff. This is what your dad did, and it was wrong. But going back to this, put warning labels, make a commission, put a ESRB rating on AI, whatever. It's not going to stop young minds, the wrong minds, from getting a hold of it. So I don't know if it's like it's out of Pandora's box now. people wanted to create it so bad, and there was nothing saying that anybody could, and now they do it, and now there's no going back from it. You wish, and you hope this would have never have happened and it never happens again, but sadly, it's probably not going to be the last time. Things like grooming behavior and stuff. This is just terrible. Dr. Princeton is the less brains are still developing and making impressionable feedback. Not great. Not great. It's so interesting. I wonder if my AI here didn't want to give me some of this information because it makes him look bad. I'm just calling it a him because it's a dude, and I hang out with dudes. I don't really hang out. I'm a married man. I don't hang out with other females. So, anyway. Response, reactions, and next moves. Okay. OpenAI pledged new safeguards, including efforts to predict if a user is a minor and tools for parental control or blackout hours, times when the chatbot can't be used. That's not going to do anything. I mean, early in the morning, late at night, kids are a lot of, when we're young, we're not always supervised. I mean, like, maybe it's a little different from when I was a kid in the 80s and 90s, but mom, dad working, sleeping. We're off doing our own thing. As long as we're not getting in trouble, who knows what we're doing, What else? Regulatory pressures. The Federal Trade Commission is opening inquiries into AI companion chatbots among the companies under scrutiny. OpenAI, Meta, Character.ai, Google, Snap, XAI. There's going to be legislation. There's going to be a lot of pomp and circumstance. People pounding their. Oh, that didn't help, did it? I think I just cut off my audio. Hello? Hello? There we are. Don't pound the table, Brian. You knocked loose your XLR cable from the back of the caster. Anyway, people pounding their table saying, we care, yelling at the guys and gals in the tables down in front of them, making their face turn red and feel bad and stuff like that. And we see those kind of clips all the time on YouTube or the news, and, it gets us all fired up. Yeah, you take that, you should get in trouble. But you never really hear about any true consequences. I don't know. And these might not be the only one. 2 of these 3 kids are gone. And it's super, super sad. It's not where I can't say that I'm going to turn around and never query ChatGPT again. You know what I mean? But gosh, it makes me think twice. It's funny, the gentleman I was meeting with, maybe someday I'll be able to mention his name when he's our client, but I don't like to do that without folks' permission. But he had a good point. He's an older gentleman, and he doesn't use AI. He doesn't need to. What he does in his job, he's really good at. He's been doing a long time when it comes to manufacturing operations. So he doesn't need to use it in those kind of ways. But I said to him, I leverage it every day, little things, nothing that I can't do. And he's like, I like to still be able to think. And I go, I know exactly where you're coming from. But I said, I use it. And he's like, yeah, And he wasn't trying to, make me feel bad or anything for leaning on it. The young buck I am, a ripe old age of 45. But but I said, honestly, all the things that it makes easier for me on a daily basis, I can draft up emails faster without having to tap into emotions and stuff and blah, I can make tables and charts and scan things and just do things a little bit faster, shoot from the hip a little bit more. Hearing things like I just shared today make me wish it was all gone. All gone. So anyway, that is about all I think I have for today. Man, it's crazy how fast 30 minutes go by. It's been 35 minutes of the show today. Sorry if I used too much of your guys' time, but thought a couple interesting topics to cover. We'll continue to monitor the situation from government land when it comes to the shutdown, but hopefully we won't have to do that for too long. Let's get back to everybody working and being productive. That being said, I thought it was a pretty good show today. Hopefully you guys did likewise. But until tomorrow, that has been episode 69 of the Daily BLP. Thank you guys so much. Definitely.